And welcome to another edition of Referees Corner here on IslandStats.com. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and I'm joined by a host of youth referees back here at the Clyde Bass Center of Excellence boardroom. I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with my left.
My name's Anaje Martin.
My name is Tajari Rogers.
And my name is Malachi Henry.
Well, gentlemen, you have put your hand up to officiate Bermuda Football Association games. What are some of the things you like about refereeing and what gets you involved, the reason behind getting involved? We'll start with you at the top.
I like the experience, and it makes me know the game better of football.
Yeah, me as well. Like I like the experience and how like you could also like not just play it but also like learn.
Seeing like the growth of players when they're young and then seeing them become older and much like more advanced in how they play and stuff.
When you guys first thought about becoming officials, what were some of the things that you challenged yourself with, knowing that you thought you knew a lot about the game, but now that you know the rules, you realize you didn't know as much as you thought. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So now that you've done it, what's the pros and cons of it? We could start with you.
A pro could be that we know a lot more and we can understand it better. And then the cons is like remembering like all the stuff about it and knowing what is what and making the right decision.
What about for you?
Oh, um,
What are the pros for it? What are the things that you like about it or you get out of it?
like I said, like the experience because like you know like how like you're actually like you could take it into your own hands and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And what's the
Right,
what's the
cool.
what's the flip side of that?
How like it could be some bad audiences.
Okay, fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What about you?
A pro is that I know the rules more, so I'm able to incorporate that into my actual whenever I play. But the con is that whenever you're playing the game, since you're a referee, and then a referee makes a bad call that you know shouldn't be the right one, you want it to like you just want to tell the referee, but then you don't want to get a yellow card or anything.
How has it helped you explain things to your teammates, knowing a little more about the game, understanding a little more of why calls are made or the reasons behind calls made? How has that helped you explain to your teammates or even your peers, your schoolmates, on the rules of the game? We can start again.
Oh, because like you could like tell them like how like you said how like why it was that cool instead of because like it could be an offside and they won't really know everything about them, so you can tell them about that.
Okay. Mhm.
Not everyone's gonna have the same opinion on things, so it's like when you tell people a certain way of why the fall happened or why that got called, they will probably understand it better.
Like knowing a side of like how the referee makes decisions and how they know what's a call and what's right and what's wrong.
Were you nervous the first time you had to officiate?
Yes, because I was like kind of scared of like, am I able to go up and tease like ref other little kids and know what to do?
What was the night before like for you, the night before your first game?
Making sure I remember everything and making the right calls so I wouldn't get like bad audience from people and not knowing what to do.
What about you? What was your first experience like?
My first experience was actually pretty good. Like I felt I did a good. I felt I did good.
Mm-hmm. Were you nervous going in?
Very.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because whenever you're nervous about something, you're always thinking the worst first, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what were your worst thoughts going into
I was
it?
like, oh boy, I better make the right calls because if I don't, I might have like people really mad.
And you?
The first time when I refereed, I was nervous, like because I didn't want the fans to like come at me and say something if I made a bad call, if it was the right call, because I don't know.
Right.
And then, but otherwise than that, I felt like I performed well.
Mm. let me ask you this question because it's one of the most important ones. Does your perception of refereeing now change? Has it changed since you've been one to take the whistle? Because we often see people react to a call, thinking that the officials don't know what they're blowing. And now you are the person with the whistling involved. Do you feel as if you're more comfortable doing it, or are you now saying, well, I understand why he makes that call? Anyone?
I do understand why now because like you could see when you're refing a game and then you see like a player come up to you and say, "Referee, that's a bad call," or something. You could actually see for yourself, was that truly a bad call and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So you could tell the player yourself, like the referee does when you're in the game. So it's like you just have to listen sometimes, even if it's like not a good call. You could still take that information.
Mm. But most of the time, when you make a call, it's because of the angle in which you see the infringement made, right?
Yeah.
So even when you're a player, it's the same scenario, isn't it? Because no referee is in the exact same spot each and every time. Am I right?
Yes.
What's the age group you officiate?
It's usually around from like under sevens and under nines.
Where do you get the most trouble?
Around like the older kids because they think they know it all
Right,
and they want to make their own goals and think that I'm like doing my bad part
right.
of refereeing them.
Okay. Do you get challenged a lot by players?
Not that much.
No.
Yeah.
So when you get there, you step your authority, you're in charge,
Yes.
and then after that, you become a player. So what happens there?
Yeah, I like. Then I don't really like react to calls because I like understand
Right.
because of the experience of me refereeing.
Mm. What would you say? What would you say has been a benefit for you refereeing?
I would say I'll be able to. I read the game better. Like I could see everything that's happening, and I could see the amount of like mistakes that players make sometimes, even when they're young.
Right. Do you guys now, when you're watching football on television, do you find yourself at times watching the referee to see what positions they're in, as well as you're watching? Obviously, you watch the player playing in your position as well, but are you at times watching referees?
Yes, it makes it like very like cool to watch how like experienced they are and knowing what they're doing up in like a big stage and all these people saying stuff. So it's pretty nice.
How do you block the people, because you're in charge of a game on the field in between the lines, but there's a lot being said outside those lines. How do you block that out?
By not listening. Like I'll probably see them, but like I'll try my best to ignore them.
Hmm.
Yeah. So like. Yeah.
Doesn't work all the time.
Yes.
Yeah, for you.
Yes.
Okay. What about for you? Does that work all the time? Block the sideline.
Not really, cause like I want to like take that information in just in case if it's actually right
Mhm.
sometimes, but sometimes I just zone out. So
Are parents hard to deal with?
yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
very loud and stuff.
How do you handle it though?
I try to stay in my zone and make sure that I'm doing the right thing and they're just like not doing anything.
Right. If you had the opportunity to, if it presented itself for you to run the line on a Premier Division game, would you try it?
Oh, I would, but I would probably practice all the time to make sure I know what I'm doing.
You understand the rules, right?
Yeah.
So all you're there to do is govern the rules, right?
Yeah.
Would you do it?
Yes, but I'll be happy. I'll be very excited, but very nervous. So like he said, I'll like actually go over the rules over and over until like actually get them all.
And you look like you'd be eager to do it.
yeah, I feel confident to do that.
Yeah. When you guys do the course, because you've done a basic course, right? What was the one thing that sticks out in your memory from that course? You could start.
For me, it was learning how to play the game. Yeah, so like you can learn different ways of how referees see it. So like, say you had to watch an offside position, you could know now where that is and stuff like that.
Okay.
Mine is like like falls, so how aggressive or how fast the ball could be coming.
Mhm. Okay. Mhm.
It'll be offsides. I haven't really learned what a offside is until my refereeing course, and now I get like a really good understanding of what it is and how to call it.
It's a tricky one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of players try to come back from offside position and then get back on side, thinking that they can then get back on one side to be offside. It's a really tricky one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I do want to thank you because I do have three others that are eager to come on board. You guys continue the good work. I appreciate you guys taking up the opportunity to become youth referees. It helps you obviously not just on the field, but actually off the field as well as you become leaders of your peers in Bermuda. And I want to encourage you guys to stick with it. Take it as far as you want it to go and enjoy it. Okay?
Okay,
All right?
Yes, thank you.
And we'll be back with three other guests on Referee Corner here on IslandStats.com in just a moment. And welcome back to Referee's Corner here on IslandStats.com. Again, I'm your host, Earl Basin, and I'm joined by three other youth referees. I'll let them introduce themselves, starting to my left.
My name's Keen Webb.
My name is Zoe Swan.
And my name's Cage Devil.
Well, welcome. Welcome. You've had an opportunity to listen to your counterparts. What did you take from what you heard from the other three that kind of resembles how you feel about refereeing youth games? We'll start with you.
The parents sometimes and like the coaches, they shout a lot at you.
Right.
Like, it's hard. It's not hard to deal with because you're officiating the game and you make the calls, but it's irritating sometimes.
Okay. All right.
Me with like seeing it from both sides because when I play football, like I can understand the ref point of view because I'm a ref too.
Okay.
Kind of like the reason why we got into reffing is because like the love for the game, really.
What position do you play when you play?
I play right back.
Okay. Now, as an official, when you're in the middle, do you tend to watch the youngsters in your position, see what they're doing from a different angle, although you're there to referee?
Yeah, I usually watch all of them because like they're very talented. So and it will be nice to see when they grow up and where they will be.
What was your first impression of refereeing? What was your first impression of refereeing when you first had to do it, or when you first chose to do it? Not the course, but actually getting into a game.
For me, I thought that was gonna be like kind of hard because since I'm a girl and like most people are used, I guess, to male referees and like boys playing the sport. For me, officiating like a boys' game, that would be like I would know what I'm doing.
Were you comfortable though at the end of it?
Yes. Well, my first game was I was reffing a girls' game, so it was like easier for me. But when I started reffing boys' game, I was like nervous for like the parents because they're more like aggressive. So I was kind of nervous.
Yeah. When you remember, you look back to when you were the age of what you coach. What you ref 7 through 9. So when you look back at when you were that age playing, do you see yourself running around sometimes? while you're officiating?
No, really. Well, sometimes like
Yeah.
I think of how I would have played
Mhm.
specifically, and like I think of like what they're doing and
Mhm.
the different rules. Cause
Right.
it
How
be
much
like,
how much fun do you have when it comes to officiating?
I mean, it's not like very fun, but it's kind of fun because you get to see them and watch the games.
Mhm. Mhm. When because you were saying the difference between the boys and the girls. So now are you more comfortable in the boys game? Is it because of the speed, or is it just that you feel as if it's more of a boys game?
Um, well, since I ref the under 7 boys, it's not really the speed, but like more of the parents, like how aggressive I would say they are towards the game.
Mhm.
That's why more of the girls, the parents are more like not as aggressive. Like they still cheer more, but they're not like as aggressive
Right.
towards the game.
Right. Do you ever feel the need to think about, let me stop the game and have a work with the two coaches to get the parents, get the spectators, because not all the time are they parents, but to get them under control a little bit? Have you ever
Um,
thought of that?
Not really, because after a while they're not as aggressive. Like they might calm down a little bit
Right.
after a while.
Okay. Are you guys encouraged to make sure that the coaches understand that you guys are youth referees and you're still young yourself, but you're here to help?
Um,
Yeah, for me, it's really about just like taking control of the game and knowing that you're basically the boss of the game and making the calls and everything, and not allowing parents and coaches to imitate you into what calls you make
Right.
and try to change the decision.
You seem like a very positive young man. Are you positive in everything you do?
Most,
Most.
most.
Yeah. What would you say? What would you say is your strength?
Uh, Definitely football because like that's basically the only sport I really play in.
Okay.
I play it every day, so.
Okay. Okay. What would your strengths be in football?
Well, I play in goal, so
Okay.
um,
It's a tough position, isn't it?
yeah, it's like because I have back problems because of it now.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. So you're taking it easy right now. Okay. All right. Let me ask you this question then. When are you a defensive minded referee, or are you just open referee? Because remember, if you play a position, you kind of tend to look to protect the players in that area a lot more than, and it's a normal thing. So what type of referee are you?
I'm more open
You're more open.
because
Okay.
like I just let them play, and if they do something that I'm not supposed to do, I call it.
Okay. What about challenges on the goalkeeper?
Oh, then yeah, goalkeeper's like a protected species.
What about you? What position do you play on the field?
Center mid and right back.
Okay, so those two, well, center mid is a bit of an aggressive position, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sort of depending on what style you play. But do you find you let the game flow a little more when they get into tackles?
Yes, but unless it's like very aggressive or like careless, then I would call it. But if it's not that bad, then I won't call it.
Oh, okay, okay. Are you an aggressive player?
Yes.
Okay, all right, all right. What about you? Do you let play flow, or are you one of those whistling them off all the time?
Yeah, I just let the game flow because you have to constantly remind yourself that they're little kids, so
Hmm.
you have to allow them to play, so they can get better, obviously.
Right. What challenges would you find in a game that you kind of doubt yourself a lot? Have you ever had scenarios in a game where you say to yourself, I'm not 100% sure if that was either a foul or an infringement?
Yeah, because so if a player might like kick someone else and then the other player might retaliate.
Hmm.
So then like my mind's like blowing up to see which direction do I call it in because they both did something wrong.
Right.
if the other team have the ball, do I like let them play or bring it back for the other team? So
Right. Well, what would be the outcome then? Because you indicated there was an infringement first of kicking, and then there was a retaliation. So one doesn't supersede the other. So you have to take it back to the actual foul, which
yeah,
was the kick, and then you deal with the retaliation.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you just have to really talk to the players and tell them not to do it, and then continue with the game.
Right. Right. Have you had an incident where you were unsure what?
Yeah, because like with under seven, since they're just learning the game, they're more like they push each other more and like tackle each other more. So it's kind of like, well, they both did it. So
Right.
like, do I call it? Do I just leave it? Kind of like that.
Right. What about you? You find because when you're doing under sevens, it's the bull and everybody, so it's kind of difficult to see what type of foul or infringement is being made at times, isn't it?
Like the other day, I called a penalty, but I didn't think it was really a penalty. So
When did you doubt it though? After you called it?
so I gave the other team a free kick and just let it play because it wasn't really a penalty, but it was just in the moment.
Oh, okay, okay. But you dealt with it, and you were comfortable with how you dealt with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find times where when you after a game you look back and say, I wonder if that call was right, or I know I made the right call at times? Do you guys find yourself doing that a lot?
Sometimes like if it was a call I was unsure about, then after I'm like, should I make that call? Should I have it?
Mm. So you think about it. Yeah. What challenges you the most in the game?
Really, it's just for me, it's remembering the rules really because you have to remember the rules all the time. So you can, like I said, make calls and everything.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for your time. I do have two more that kind of showed up, but thank you very much for your time. Keep up the good work. And as I said to the other youngsters, you guys are doing a tremendous job, and I encourage you to keep with it. Take it as far as you want it to take
Thank you.
you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. And we'll be back with other youth referees on Referees Corner here on IslandStats.com in just a moment. And welcome back to Referees Corner here on IslandStats.com. Again, I'm your host, Earl Basin. Joining me on set is two other youth referees, and I'll let them introduce themselves. First to my left.
My name is Kevin Nisbet.
My name is Siobhan Nisbet.
Okay. Brothers?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, welcome, gentlemen. How long have you been officiating?
About a month.
Oh, new to it. Both of you?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you get involved?
Because I enjoy refereeing people or helping children younger than me.
Okay.
Same type of
Yeah.
same thing.
Do you guys play a lot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What position do you play?
Left wing back.
Okay.
Left wing.
Okay. All right. Well, interesting. Very interesting. When you put your hand up, why would you put your hand up to become a referee? Other than you say you want to help youngsters learn the game and so forth, but what intrigued you to do it from a personal standpoint?
My mama is like the match commissioner at the FA. She does the girls tournament, and one day she needed me to help out, and I stepped up and I did it. and after that, I just seemed to wanted to keep rapping after that.
Okay.
For me, it was something else to do and something that could fall back.
Okay.
Something to fall back on if things don't go.
Right. When you could have you done a basic course yet?
Yes.
Okay. What challenged you in that course?
Well, we had to. They made us like run around the cones, and at first I didn't understand where I had to run or what calls or whistle was a different type of whistle between a girl kick whistle and a pounding whistle.
Okay. So you understand what those are now?
Yes.
Okay. And you perform those duties
Yeah.
when you're doing youth games.
Yes.
Are you comfortable with that?
With the girl kick, the pounding I can still work on.
Okay. All right. Now, when you done your first game, what was your thoughts?
I was kind of nervous because the parents and the spectators, how they are towards referees these days. I wasn't sure what they were gonna say, how they were gonna feel, so it was just nerve-wracking.
Yeah. How did you overcome that?
I just focused on the game more than the parents and the spectators, and
Cool.
just
Okay. Let me ask you this question. Were you one of those people on the sideline before you became a referee that would say that referee doesn't know what it's calling?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Now the tide has changed. What do you say to that person that's on the sideline now?
I understand that from their viewpoint and that everybody makes mistakes, so they might not always make the right call, but they're still trying to begin.
Okay. All right. What are some of the things you don't like about refereeing?
Well, like you said, spectators, the coaches, they might not see the play from your angle, and they might have another opinion about it.
Okay. So what would be your message to coaches?
When coaches to the coaches
Yeah.
is that maybe think about what they're gonna say before they say it, because they should know that they probably can't see as much as I can.
Okay. All right. Do you really enjoy? How many games have you officiated?
I've officiated 7 or 6 games.
Oh, okay. And it's something you really like now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some,
Getting more confident in it?
yes.
Yeah. What are some of the rules that you find difficult to get through when you're officiating?
For me, not really much because I don't understand the game.
Mhm.
I was already understood. I already understood the game before I became a ref, so some of the rules I were pretty comfortable with.
Yeah. What was one of the rules that surprised you in the book that you thought you knew but didn't know according to the law?
It was the offside. You can't be offside and then run back into the onside and receive the ball. You're
Right.
still offside.
Okay. You was under the impression as long as they got the ball and they were onside, they were involved, they could be involved in the play.
Yeah.
Right. But now you know different.
Yes.
Okay. What if you can, what is the signal for that?
The offside,
When the player comes back from an offside position, do you know what the signal is?
as the assistant referee.
As the assistant referee.
Pretty sure you stand up straight and stick your flag up.
Okay, and one other motion.
I'm not sure. Do you shake your flag a little bit? I'm
No,
not sure.
no, it's the motion of you indicate that the player came from an offside position to an onside position and back.
I don't know that one.
Okay, all right, all right. Well, that's another. You just learned something else.
Yeah.
Okay. You're willing to learn.
Yeah.
On the go.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest challenge?
My biggest
Other than like, do you find yourself watching a lot of the game because that's what we do? We watch the game.
Yeah, I watch the game because I want to make sure nothing's happening behind me that I don't know about.
Right, right. Now, are there offsides in the games that you guys officiate?
Yes.
Yes. No. Which age would you do?
Well, when I did the under 15 for the girls.
Oh, okay. Okay. You're comfortable doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You give any cards?
I don't give cards. I don't have cards.
So how do you just use your whistle
Yeah.
and use your voice?
Yes.
Okay. You're in charge.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. No, something you enjoy.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay. Has that been the biggest game you've done? The under 15 girls?
Yeah.
When I say biggest, I mean in regards to being challenged.
Yeah, I was charging. My game that I did was pretty challenging. Was when I wasn't an actual referee,
Right.
and I just had to ref to be a replacement. I didn't. It was under pressure. I didn't know what to do.
Okay. Okay. So after that, you found as if it was something that you wanted to do.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Nothing wrong with that. I want to encourage you guys to keep up the good work. Have fun at it. Season's almost over, but it's something that you can always say that you had an opportunity to do, and you look forward to doing it as long as you can. All right. Okay. Well, folks, that's it for Referee's Corner here on IslandStats.com. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and join us next week, Monday, as we'll be back with more Referee's Corner right here on IslandStats.com. Do enjoy your night.